everybody. Welcome back to Worcester, Massachusetts at WCCA TV. My name is Cece Doucette, and I am the Executive Director of Massachusetts for Safe Technology and the international nonprofit Wireless Education, where I am the Education Services Director. And today we are here to tape episode 31 of Tech Safe, and I'm delighted to introduce you to our guest today, Jenny DeMarco from Virginians for Safe Technology. It's another grassroots education organization that formed to protect current and future consumer rights to safe and responsible technology in this fast-growing world of wireless. Jenny also co-founded the National Call for Safe Technology with Odette Wilkins, which is a bi-weekly call for those interested in combining efforts across the United States and even across the pond over to Europe sometimes, and exchanging ideas and best practices around working on the wireless issue. Now, Jenny has an interesting background. She actually earned her bachelor's degree from Boston University in broadcast journalism, which ironically is what I set out to do from Northeastern University, right in Boston. So I think it's kind of fun that we're both sitting here doing a program at this cable station today. Jenny also earned a master's in education from Heidelberg University in Ohio and spent nearly 10 years in the television industry producing, reporting, and anchoring for local news stations throughout the U.S. and marketing and producing for C-SPAN networks. So, Jenny, tell us how your career path changed and what it is that you find yourself doing today.
Yes, so I'll try to be brief, but at the end of, I think it was around 2013, I decided my time in television had run its course, and so I ended up, I've always been into the health and wellness industry, which is probably how I tripped into the wireless issue, honestly, because I've really cared about and help them thrive. And so I ended up just creating my own training and nutrition business. And then I have parlayed that now. I've become an EFT practitioner, which stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And it's through negative emotions, which I know to a lot of people can sound a little odd, but there's so much science backing it now. And it's a very exciting thing that's coming up in psychotherapy as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, and you know, when we talk about the wireless issue, we are talking about energy. We're talking about man-made energy. And when we go through traumatic experiences, our body stores that trauma in our tissues. So if we can oftentimes release that, address the trauma, and get it out of our body, then we're better able to handle other exposures that we have throughout our lives, like these environmental exposures from toxic chemicals in the foods, in the air, and the radio frequency radiation. So I think it's wonderful that you have followed your passion into helping others through this healthcare practice of EFT. And how did you first figure out the wireless piece?
So in early 2020, I was on a call with Zen Honeycutt with Moms Across America. And I was on that call because Zen is very into issues, you know, like crops being tainted with glyphosate and the foods that we put in our bodies and, you know, how to raise healthy children in this current state of being. You know, our society is a little bit different than I think when I was raised. So I was on that call, and on that particular call, she was talking about fighting cell phone towers in her city out in California. She has since moved, but at that time she was very invested in learning about 5G, about the wireless issue, about how she could help push back some of these siting, you know, they site towers in different areas in cities and counties. And so she was talking all about this. And I had no idea about any of this. I mean, I was floored. I remember my jaw was just hanging and my heart was beating because having my background in the news industry and then seeing kind of the inner workings of the government at C-SPAN, I'm a big picture person. And so I see I could see immediately how this had infiltrated every part of our lives so quickly and so easily, and how people had no idea. Like I just saw it immediately. And so I kept asking her, what can we do? What can we do? And she kept saying, Jenny, start a group. Just start where you are, get online tonight and start a Facebook group. And I was like, I don't want to start a group, all of those things that go on in your head. And so what ended up happening was I got off that call and I started a Facebook group, Virginians for Safe Technology. And I was just finding articles and reading and educating myself. I remember I emailed a couple of people like R blank randomly, and I just said, what happens to the animals, from wireless technology? And people who had been in this space for a long time, it was awesome. They were happy to write me back and answer my questions. As busy as they were, they answered me right away. And so a couple months later, the other individuals who I now co-run Virginians for Safe Technology with found me, thank goodness. And we officially started Virginians for Safe Technology, and it's grown ever since.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I envy you the intel that you already had into how the government and industry interact with one another, and that you knew that many of our government agencies are already being run by industry. So I fell down the rabbit hole in 2013, and it wasn't until 2015 that Harvard Law School Center for Ethics came up with this amazing report called Captured Agency, how the Federal Communications Commission is dominated by the industries it presumably regulates. So they use a revolving door on the cover of their 59-page report, and Captured Agency is available online for free. You can get to it through my website at Massachusetts for Safe Technology. But this was my missing puzzle piece, because I just kept thinking, surely if this is as bad as what I'm reading in the science, somebody's got to have our backs on this. So it took me a couple of years to really get to the point where you were at, almost overnight, that we've got to get organized and we got to do something about this. So I love that you got on it right away, because knowing what I know today, I would absolutely not go to the schools, not go to the town. I would go to my friends and all the parents of the kids that my kids were hanging out with and get them educated first. And there's a wonderful film called Generation Zapped that is now available to stream through our library services. I know my library subscribes to Canopy and to Hoopla, and Generation Zapped is a part of that. In Europe, you can get it through Amazon Prime. They've just censored it. They've just censored Generation Zapped here through Amazon Prime, but it's definitely easy and out there, and it's a wonderful way to just sit down with people and say, hey, you know what? I think I figured something out. Why don't you come over? Let's have a potluck. Everybody bring a dish. We'll enjoy each other's company and watch this film together, and then decide as a community what to do. I'm still learning to take my own advice, Jenny. Just this week, I was in front of the building committee for a brand new upper elementary school that we built here in Ashland, Massachusetts. And I had told the project manager years ago about wireless, and he's an engineer. They've only been taught you have to have heat to have harm from a radiating device. And so when they built this new school, they actually put wireless access points in every single classroom. Now, Germany has made it illegal to put them in the classrooms. If they're in the building, they're in the hallways, not right on top of where the students and the staff are trying to create a learning environment. So I did my 3-minute public comment this week and told them about the science, told them about Captured Agency, told them about the lawsuit against the FCC, where the DC Circuit Court of Appeals found the FCC to be arbitrary and capricious, which means they didn't do their homework when they reaffirmed those toxic levels of radiation from 1996. So I'm sharing all this information in my 3 minutes, and if anybody wants that 3-minute testimony I gave, you're more than welcome to take it and use it and modify it for your purposes. But then I said, can I answer any questions? And I think there were like 14 people who just sat there silently. And now they want to lob it back to the school committee. And I worked with the school committee back in 2014 when we became the first in the nation to even have this little sign in our classroom. So there's no cavalry coming. This is just a sign, and they're not protecting our children. the radiation is very high, and I measured it in that new school. And this is the Safe and Sound Pro 2 broadband radio frequency meter that was recommended at the EMF medical conference. So I measured our new school. Outside, it was in the green. That's where we want to be, down in the low green area. But when I was inside the classrooms, they were all screaming red. So I'm back in it with my town, but I know that I need to double down now and really get the parents educated so a group of parents can show up and be less easily swept under the rug. So that's what I'm doing here. What are you doing in Virginia?
Well, it's funny you should say that because not funny, haha, but like interesting, I should say, because I actually just got swept up into something this week in my county. Everything was copacetic, and then I learned about a tower that they're putting at the public high school, the school board is hearing about from the site developer to put at the local high school that my children would go to if they went to public school. My kids are younger now, they're 5 and 9. But this is the school, if I were to put them in public school, that they would go to. And it's also right adjacent to an elementary school as well. And so now here I am right back in it. And we were just in it last year with my kids' private school, which we had particularly singled out because it was just such a lovely, wholesome place that didn't have any wireless. They had copper wireline phones. They didn't allow their kids to have phones or, wireless devices on property. And I accidentally found out through my county because I was doing some other work within my county and I FOIA'd to see they had inappropriately, I don't want to say illegally, but it was riding a line. They had inappropriately approved towers without any sort of commission overview, like planning commission overview during COVID, using this emergency rule, allowing one person to sign off on at least 4 different towers within the county. And so I had accidentally stumbled on this. And what ended up transpiring from that is one of these COVID towers was cited for this private school that I had both my kids at. And I was shocked. And I said to myself, the exact same thing that you said to yourself. It's like, surely, he's set up this, or, the board has set up this school to be not any of these things, no wireless, no exposure, very wholesome education. And so surely he'll understand. Maybe it's just an oversight. They only really hear from the site developers. So we had several meetings in which I laid out all of the science. I said, you know what, I have access to all of these experts that I can provide you, a conversation with. I sent them, Kent Chamberlain, Dr. Kent Chamberlain's amazing different interviews and presentations he's made, Theodora Scarrato with EHT, the Environmental Health Trust, and still he, to me, he was saying one thing, and what I ended up finding out was the site developers' kids go to the school, which I didn't know, and he didn't disclose. So what I ended up doing, to what you said, and this goes to, I know something you like to do is tell the audience, like, what can you do? And what I did was what you recommended, and that was get a group of parents. But the problem was it wasn't like a public school where you get to know people in your class. You're very isolated. And I was the first year there. So I made a huge flyer and I stood at the end of the driveway. My husband did too, like during drop off or pickup, and just started handing them out to people. And what it did was the headmaster was not thrilled with me, but it forced him to address the issue with the parents, which he had not done. He had not told anybody, and he was not going to tell anybody until the trucks were building the tower. Oh. So, the good news is it never ended up going up. I later found out, I think enough parents found out and were not thrilled with that decision either. Mm-hmm. So it didn't end up going up. And this year, public schools are a different totally different arena, but I hope to educate them enough and bring in some experts that they can speak to and notify enough parents, which is what I'm working on right now, to have a little bit of pushback to not put these things on school property. So that's what I'm working on locally. But to exactly what you said, you have to let other people know. That's
so
the most
is your
important thing.
flyer available at Virginians for Safe Technology? Do you have that posted there, Jenny? Because I would like to take a look at it, because that's my next step, is I'm going to go to the school during open house or something and just pass information out. One member who I think is a representative from the community on that building committee, he did reach out to me. He said, I have heard about this before, but shouldn't this really go through school committee? So I told him that I had worked with school committee many years ago, and they didn't do anything to protect the children other than hang that sign in the classroom. So, wow. So and that's a great success. Congratulations, Jenny. All it takes is one person, and there's so many resources available today that we didn't have 10 years ago when I fell down the rabbit hole. We've got the website, Tech Safe Schools, and they have a whole nicely laid out explanation of the science, of the legal risks, because most of our schools have no idea that Lloyd's of London and Swiss Re and AM Best and others have long since recognized this man-made microwave radio frequency radiation is a world-leading toxin, and they don't offer coverage for damages. So that can leave our towns and schools holding the bag with liability. And then Tech Safe Schools also has another module for remediation. How do we fix it? It's not rocket science. All those wireless access points that are already installed, they all have a couple of Ethernet ports right on the underbelly of them. All you got to do is run an Ethernet cable down to table level and then just get a splitter, or what's called a switch, and then you can plug in all the devices right at the table using little Ethernet adapters, right? It's not rocket science to fix. And that's if we determine we actually even want this technology in our schools. Finland and the Netherlands and other countries are realizing we kind of got sold a bill of goods with all this, all tech all the time. That is not how a child learns properly. They need connection with their peers, with their trusted adults. They need movement. They need touch, tactile movement in their environment, and they need to be out in nature. That is how to properly develop all of the systems in a child. And so bravo to these countries who are saying, no, we don't want tech in the classroom. We want to get back to connecting genuinely with the children. So we have to do a double look. Where's the radiation and how to fix that? And what is really truly serving our students and not distracting the learning environment. So Tech Safe Schools is a great website. And then here in Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition has worked with experts, and they came up with curriculum on prevention with cell phones and with wireless. For kindergarten through grade 12, they've got these 3 or 4 different modules for age appropriateness, and that's available for everybody. And Dr. Alexia McKnight is ironically a radiologist, and she got really, really sick when a smart meter went on her home. So a smart meter is what's being pushed in by industry now to take the data readings for how much consumption you have for gas, water, electric, solar, maybe even propane. And they put these little meters on that are transmitting microwave radiation all day long. The industry will say it's just a couple seconds. When I measured on my home, 17,000 times a day we were getting pulsated with microwave radiation. Well, Dr. McKnight she got so sick from the smart meter on her home that she was out in traffic with her daughter in the car and could no longer remember if that green light meant stop or go. And thank goodness she made the right decision and got home. It was a 50-50 gamble. But that's how neurotoxic this technology is, and all this anger and anxiety and depression, ADD, ADHD, autism, early onset Alzheimer's. This is a neurotoxin. So We have a professional development day recording that Dr. McKnight and I did with her children's schools in Pennsylvania on their professional development health and wellness day. We presented 4 different times that day. So like you said, when you first found out about this, you were surprised at how forthcoming everybody was to want to help you. Anything I can do to help come in and educate. Educating is my happy place. I'm not a building biologist. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. Like you, my background is in communication. So if I can help convey this crazy complex information in a simple way to get us to safe technology, I'm honored to help anybody. You can find me at Massachusetts for Safe Technology. So Jenny, you've been working on it in your home, you've been working on it in your community, and I understand you've been working on it at the state level too. So tell us about legislation in Virginia.
So we are working right now, we're focusing on smart meters. There are a couple other areas of the wireless issue we'd like to maybe include in this go round at the state legislature, meaning like next year. But for right now, we're trying to get a real opt-out bill. And what I mean by that is you mentioned smart meters, and here in Virginia, the major company gives an opt-out. But there are a whole host of issues that come with that opt-out because it's actually just a smart meter that has its the antennas turned off. So it comes with the antennas, two-way communicating antenna installed in the meter, which can be reactivated at any moment. Say your power goes out and comes back on, it can all of a sudden your two-way, it becomes a smart meter at that point. And the homeowner doesn't know unless they end up feeling it. Or, something happens later on. There's fire issues, there's dirty electricity issues, privacy issues. I mean, there's not one thing that a smart meter does that is actually for the consumer. And I know that company after company, and it saves the cars driving around, but none of this is true. Wireless is an environmental toxin. We all know what it's doing to the animals and the birds and the bees and the insects and the trees and the people that live in the homes. And then another issue that people care about is that, like I mentioned, the privacy, but your home that you worked so hard to make yours and a safe haven. And, even if you don't own your home, it's your place to go and rest your head at night. And, it's violating when you don't have a choice about what goes on the side of your home. And especially when it carries as much risk as a smart meter does, that the public is just not informed about. So there's no informed consent when it comes to smart meters. So anyways, at the state level, we are working with legislators to try to get a true opt-out for a meter that does not have a two-way communicating chip installed. And preferably doesn't have the switch mode power supply either, which is what switches from AC to DC and puts the dirty electricity on the wiring throughout the home. But obviously the two-way communicating chip makes it like a cell phone tower on the side of your home. And it's one of the backbones of the mesh network. So the radio frequency mesh network, they talk about the Internet of Things. The smart meters are a backbone. So anyways, at the state level, this is what we're really concerned with consumer rights when it comes to smart meters and hoping to represent this year. We're going to try every year.
Right. And, we have actually had a smart meter opt-out bill in Massachusetts for 10 years. And this year, Senator Michael Moore put an emergency preamble on it because it is a public health issue and a very serious one. We've been helping a group of citizens in Tennessee. They're working this week on a bill about smart meters. Vermont has already had a no-fee opt-out, I think since 2012, so it can be done. We just got a little glimmer into what these industries are doing in our town. So here in Massachusetts, I think it was Franklin, Massachusetts, and it might include Natick, Massachusetts as well, the company that was coming in to sell our towns these smart water meters started taking our Department of Public Works managers out on these boondoggles like ski trips, and the Massachusetts Ethics Commission got involved in this, and they fined, at least the one in Franklin, $15,000, because here in Massachusetts, we take ethics training if we work for the state. You cannot accept a gift from a vendor, especially if you're the one who's responsible for budget in your town and a department, for more than $50. So these industry people are coming in, just like the telecom industry did back in the 90s. They literally wined and dined our town municipal leaders in fancy hotels to say the smart, the cell towers are coming in, and if you don't like it, well, that's too bad, you can't sue us, because that's what they put into the 1996 Telecom Act. So Jenny, I hope you guys do really well. I know Senator Bill Stanley also had a bill to start giving schools the empowerment to say, no, we don't want cell phones in the schools. So that's a good, important first step. We got to meet with him back in January. So keep doing everything that you're doing. And we've got just about a minute and a half left. What would you like to tell listeners today, whether they're from the medical community, from the citizen parent community, grandparents, or from the municipality, or from the legislatures?
To anyone just finding out about this, I would say, try not to be overwhelmed and just start where you are with what you have. And there's so many people's shoulders to stand on. Like I stood on Cece's shoulders, and so many people who have been doing this a lot longer than me. And the other thing I would say is you don't have to be an expert. There are lots and lots of experts out there, and you can refer people to the experts who are happy to answer questions or have great information out there. If you are a legislator or a community leader, I would say, please remain open-minded. And I know that you probably hear from telecoms more often than you hear from consumers, but remain open-minded in your ability to hear the science and to hear what your constituents and your community members have to say and their real concerns, because this won't just affect, it's not like you can make this decision and get away from it. It affects every aspect of life from here on out. So just remember that when you are making a decision on this issue. And I would say that also realize that there's a better way. You can have technology and you can have safety. You can have both. They're not mutually exclusive. You can have both of them. So just find out how to do that.
Yeah,
and
stay connected and protected. And it's really not rocket science. Hardwire your connections when you're not on the go, and keep your transmissions as low as reasonably achievable when you are on the go. And I want to thank Jenny for joining us today, and also for being my guest. I do 2 free public education webinars every month, and Jenny was my co-host in the month of March. This coming Monday, which will be, by the time this video comes out, it will be in the past, but we also have Doris Knick from the Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance, and Virginia is doing some really important work. So you can go out to Massachusetts for Safe Technology, Virginians for Safe Technology, the Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance, and you'll find the videos and my slides that really help you to connect the dots very quickly. So please, folks, we know it's like drinking water out of a fire hose when we first learn about this issue. I used to tell my kids when they were upset, go scream into a pillow, get it out of your system, and then come back to the table and let's find baby steps that we can do to get to a safe solution. So, Jenny, I want to thank you again for joining us from Virginians for Safe Technology. Everybody have a tech safe day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.